Hey folks, Fernando doing our video for the Modern Survivalist. I have what I believe is a great little tip for you guys dry firing with your Glock. You probably know this already, but it came to my attention that a lot of folks don't know about it, so here it goes. One of the things you obviously need so as to be a good shooter is do a lot of dry firing. Dry firing is the bread and butter of any serious shooter. It's working on the fundamentals all the time. It's working on that trigger control and hitting that wall and breaking it without not moving the gun and your stance. So you keep on doing this all the time. You work this slide, you bring your gun up, see if the stance is correct, if you're on target, and pull the trigger. Now, you end up doing this a lot, you know, and it's fine, but it gets to a point where you realize that what you're actually doing in the range is da-da-da-da, and not just working the slide all the time. Some guys are very good at it, and they just work the finger, you know, pretending that the trigger is resetting, and for them it works. Personally, I'd like to have a little bit more feedback, which of course in a double action gun you would have. Here in the Glock, it's not the case. You actually have to work the slide so as to actually have that. But there is a possible, you know, a way to get something similar, which is keeping the gun slightly out of battery. Now, here in my range for target shooting, for target competition shooting, you have to use a flag in your gun when you're not using it. If you don't have if your gun is not flagged when it's on the firing line and you're not using it, you actually get disqualified. But any flag will do, and what many guys do is just a zip tie and a little bit of paper tape, which is something you should always keep in your bag because it has a ton of uses. Doing this, you set it like that, and that's okay. Everyone sees that the gun is empty and safe, and that's it. Now, if you drop the slide on the flag like so, your gun is going to be staying slightly out of battery. And what that does is allowing for a little bit of movement in the trigger, which is not fully resetting. So what that gives you is a little bit of feedback of your trigger, which I personally like much more than having a stationary trigger that's not moving at all. This, at least for me, helps me, especially because it's going past the breaking point of the trigger, so the muscle memory applies beautifully to this. Now, of course, you cannot have this thing on the side like that. You can use simply a little spacer, like with your tape. Make a small spacer about 1 millimeter, put it there, and it's going to be keeping the gun from going into battery, and it's achieving that same thing. What I did also is, this is something you could do yourself with a smaller zip tie. I cut it a little bit like that so as to have it drop a little bit further, and using liquid paper and my favorite nail paint, which is L'Oreal number 444, which I use all the time. I love the way it looks. Now, this is my wife's, but if you don't put the white stuff underneath, it's not going to be nearly as visible. So yeah, that's a good piece of advice there. What you do is you just drop it there and you work it to the spot, you know, just a little bit lower, so that it goes past that point, so it's not bothering you when you're using your sights. It's not getting in the way. At the same time, you have something that's visible and you know you're safe in your dry firing. Remember, guys, when you're dry firing, keep ammunition completely separate in a different room, and even when dry firing, do it so in a safe direction. Tons of accidents happen when people are dry firing and don't realize and drop a magazine. You know, accidents happen all the time. This works very well for me. It's giving me that feedback that I want. So I'm working mostly on my stance and seeing if I'm on target and moving that finger and trying to keep the gun as steady as possible when doing so. There's a cool tool out there. It's called a dry fire mag. I'm going to be leaving the link for that below in Amazon. If you want to check it out in Amazon, I'm going to be getting one of those soon enough. It's a magazine that has a spring and a tab, and you just drop it in place, and it sort of replicates the trigger pull that you would have when dry firing. It's not the same thing, but it's close enough. It has that a clicky noise. The advantage, though, when you're using this, of course it's cheap, you don't have to buy anything, which is always nice, is that you can do it and work on your reloads as well, because you don't have that tool in there that needs to stay in place. Here you can just work on that as well, your stance, your magazines, and all that good stuff. So at least for me, it has been working rather well. I complement this with a little bit of time with my BB. This is Umarix licensed copy, licensed by Glock, made by Umarix in Germany. And these, I did a video on this one. It has been selling very well. People like it a lot. It's not the same trigger pull. It's though close enough. So after a little bit of dry firing, you see if you're on target and if you're actually hitting stuff when you're shooting. So yeah, I'm going to be leaving the link for this below as well in case you want to check it out. It's quite nice. I like it a lot. It's a nice BB, and it's pretty much the exact same shape and form as your Glock 19. So guys, that's going to be all for now. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Share this tip with someone else if you believe they're going to be finding it useful. If that's the case, take care. Have a great day. See you on our next video.